Hi, I'm Michelle. Welcome back to my Not Diets kitchen, where it's my passion to show people that healthy food can taste amazing. Today, I want to fix for you one of my most favorite comfort foods, and it's actually a drink. It's called Healing Turmeric Drink. You probably have heard of turmeric. Turmeric is a root, and it's actually a member of the same family as the ginger root, only it's a little more orange, but looks very similar. So turmeric is so healing because it's incredibly anti-inflammatory. And it has over 300 components in it that fight inflammation powerfully within our body when we eat it. So today we're going to make some of this anti-inflammatory turmeric drink. And I just love the way it tastes because it's warm. It's hearty. I've had clients say it almost reminds them of a soup. It drinks more like a soup because it's quite filling and satisfying and spicy at the same time. So really a unique flavor. But what we're going to do is we're going to be putting turmeric and ginger in, which is great because the anti-inflammatory benefits of turmeric are realized even more when it's coupled with ginger because we can absorb it better. So I started today with some turmeric root, and I already peeled it. My recipe calls for about an inch. So I have these two little pieces that are about an inch long. You can also just use a teaspoon of the powder. However, I sort of like to use a little of both, and that's an option. So if you only have the powder on hand, you can still make this drink, and it's still very yummy. But the fresh root is closer to the real food, so you know me, I like the real food. And then we have about an inch and a half of ginger, which I've also peeled. And you can shred these any way you want, but I found one of the greatest ways to shred them for me is this little mini chopper. And you can tell that I've stained it because turmeric will color things. They use it as a coloring sometimes in foods. And so I've kind of stained my little chopper from turmeric drinks. But I'm just going to chop this ginger and this turmeric. We just want to break it up enough to unlock those wonderful anti-inflammatory components. And it is so anti-inflammatory, it's actually said to work as well or better than over-the-counter anti-inflammatory medications. Now, before we take this out of the container, what we're going to do is start to simmer some of the spices in our pan. Because turmeric is fat soluble, we're going to start with a tablespoon of organic virgin, unrefined coconut oil. Those are three important words: organic, virgin, and unrefined. And then we are just going to start adding our spices. We're going to add a cinnamon stick and let it start to sizzle. 3 cloves, 3 cardamom pods. We're going to put a star anise in here. Now this is something that's optional. However, I really like the flavor it adds. And then this is going to seem strange to you, but we're going to put 3 black peppercorns in there. And the reason we're doing that is because you will uptake the nutrients in the turmeric, the anti-inflammatory components, by 2,000% more when there's black pepper involved, something called pepperine in pepper. Okay, once this gets going, we're just going to go ahead and add a tablespoon of honey, and then we're going to pick up the rest of the sweetener with just a little tiny scoop of stevia. This is so that we don't have to add too much honey, and if you're worried about your blood sugar, you can use less honey and more stevia. It's just nice to have a little honey flavor in this. Now you can see this is starting to simmer really nicely. We're going to pour in 2½ cups of cashew milk. Now, let me say that I make homemade cashew milk, and you can find out how to do that on another future video. However, you can use a store-bought milk if you want to, but I would purchase an unsweetened one. I, like I said, like to put a little bit of the turmeric in as well, the powdered turmeric, because it makes the milk a pretty color. And then, of course, we can't forget our ginger and turmeric that we've already shredded up nicely in this little processor. We're just going to toss that in. And we're going to bring this whole mixture to a boil. And you will notice that just a very low boil, just a simmer. But as it comes to a boil, it's going to turn more golden in color. I've heard this called golden turmeric drink or milk. And there are some recipes that are not vegan, but I prefer not to use dairy milk. So we're mixing all those things. And we're just going to bring this pot to a boil. And while this is coming to a boil, I want to tell you a couple other things. I'm going to add the stevia. I use cow stevia. And there's a tiny scoop in there, like I've told you before, if you've watched my other videos. We're just going to use a tiny scoop, and then what you can do is taste your milk, and you can adjust the sweetness by your personal taste. But not only is turmeric anti-inflammatory, it's antioxidant, antiseptic, antimicrobial, anti-immunogenic, and analgesic, so it has a whole lot of disease-fighting properties. We could just say it's anti-disease. So we're just going to stir this. You want to stir it pretty much almost constantly while it's coming to a boil. And then our drink will be ready. And of course, because you can see all these little pieces of turmeric and pieces of ginger and spices, we're going to have to strain this before we serve it. So now our turmeric drink has come to just a very low simmer, and I'm turning it off. Can you see the beautiful golden color? All we have left to do is strain and enjoy. So I'm going to take my mug and just ladle some of this beautiful, thick, hearty, spicy cinnamon drink, and then I just use a spoon, and this is a pretty fine strainer, just so you know. You want to find a nice fine strainer so you don't end up with little pieces in your drink. And it's going to take about one more ladle to fill my mug. Oh, I can hardly wait. This is just one of my very favorite treats. Okay. Now it's all ready. Just going to move my pan off the heat and so I can take a sip. Cheers, and you can truly drink this to health. Good.